All right. I suggest we start. Let's see. Yep, we have 40 people. That's perfect. That's really good. So I think we can start and we can talk about our lesson number 16. So hello, everyone. Welcome. Let me see. It looks like everybody can hear me. I don't see any comments in the chat, so that's good. For those of you who don't remember, my name is Lana. And today we have our lesson number 16. So today we will be talking about resume creation, LinkedIn profile, and things like this. Now, before we go there and before we start, just as a reminder, if you have any questions, and just feel free to drop them in the chat. The chat is open, so please don't spam on topics that are not related to today's conversation, because it could be distracting for some folks, and we have over 50 people by now. So feel free to ask your questions. If you want to send a question in a way where only I can see it, keep in mind that you can still do it. Just pick my name from the list of chat participants, and then when you send a question, I will see it, I will read it, and I will answer it. So yes, that's what I wanted to mention. Today, as I said, we will be talking about LinkedIn, resume creation, and things like this. Now, before we go there, as a heads up, keep in mind that you will be working on your resume and LinkedIn profile with the mentor. So please don't do it now. Don't start creating resume, creating LinkedIn and things like this. Basically, the process that we will follow is this. You will finish this manual course, right? So you will go through all the lessons. After that, you will go to the internship. The internship will last at least 3 weeks. So you will go through the internship process. And after the internship, you will start working with the mentors. So mentors are really great. We have a whole team of really cool mentors who will be helping you with resume creation, LinkedIn creation, and also they will make sure that you are prepared for interview process. So mentors will be actually practicing interview questions and answers with you. They will have some mock interview sessions with you to make sure that you are ready. And they will just help you through that way, right? So they will help you as you go through the job search. They will be supporting you. They will help you with questions and answers. And that's like a really significant part of this process. So today we will be talking about resume creation, LinkedIn, and I will just explain the main steps. I will explain the information that we put into resume, into LinkedIn, how we organize it, why do it this way and not another way. But again, today's lesson is more for your information, so you understand the reasoning behind of it. And please don't start doing it right now. When you start working with the mentor, you will basically go through this process again, and the mentors will be helping you with the resume and with your LinkedIn profile. Something else that I wanted to mention here is when you, like after today's lesson, when you then start working with mentors on resume creation, LinkedIn profile, and things like this, if you decide to change something in your resume, please keep in mind that you always have a mentor, and we actually recommend you to pass it by your mentor. So if you decide that like, oh, the mentor gave me this resume and like helped me to create this resume, but I don't like it, or I want to change something, just talk to the mentor, provide the feedback, mention what you would like to change, and work with them. Because sometimes people like try to be creative or try to stand out in some interesting ways, and they go the resume, like take the resumes that we help them create, try to alter them a little bit, and eventually it may end up being like not good, and they don't even know about it because they didn't pass it by mentor. Our mentors have lots of experience. We've been running this course for almost 4 years. We have over 1,000 of people who actually got jobs already, so we know what we're doing. And if you want to change something, please don't forget to mention that to the mentor. So mentor will either support and help, or if it's like not a good idea, they will provide some feedback, some constructive feedback, obviously, and will explain you like why to do things one way or another way. Just as an example, back in the time when I was doing a lot of personal training sessions, I actually had a student who came to me with a resume, and his resume was like literally broken into 7 different blocks. And each of those blocks had a different background color. So like he had one block that was green, another block was red, another one was purple, like absolutely super bright random colors. And like this piece of paper was just like having a bunch of different background colors. And I was like, okay, so what is this? And the person basically said, well, I took a QA bootcamp and they told us that the resume should stand out. Not in this way, right? So if you think of like changing something on your resume, LinkedIn, or whatever, please pass it by mentor, and they will definitely recommend you the better way of doing it, and they will definitely help. It's our goal to make sure that you get a job, so we will do our best to help you. Let me see. There is one question in the chat about how do we know who's the mentor? Are they going to contact us? So this part will come basically after you finish this course and after you go through internship process. The team of mentors will start reaching out and they will contact you and they will start working with you on the next steps, which includes resume creation, preparation for job interviews, like mock interviews, practicing sessions, and things like this. So just wait. Basically, they will reach out and they will help you. Most likely, you will have a lot of different mentors, I'm sorry, because I see that this group is pretty big. So most likely you will have probably like, I would say at least 6 to 10 different people working with you. So just wait for that. They will reach out and they will provide all the information for the next steps. All right, so that's pretty much all I wanted to mention here. Now we can start going through today's materials. So let me quickly share the screen. And you should be able to see my screen now. So we don't really have a slide deck for today. It's just going to be some materials that we will share as examples for you, so you have it. And I'm just going to go over them and like explain how things are organized. Again, you will be building everything with the mentors. So this is just mostly for informational purposes, and just to give you an example and a little bit like insights on how things will be created and how things will be organized. Okay, so let me actually see, because I think there are a couple of questions in the chat. Before I come here, let me quickly make sure I answer those, and then we'll jump into this. So there is actually one comment about automation. I already paid for the bundle. Should I take your automation course or should I wait? Long story short, it's up to you. If you want to just start job search right now and try to get a manual job, you can do that. Like go through this process, get a manual job, and after that you can come back to automation anytime. If you feel like you actually want to do automation, what I would recommend you to do personally is to go through this process, start working with the mentor, and like create your profile, create your resume, start taking automation course, and do the job search. So you can be looking for a job, and then you can take automation course in the meanwhile, like at the same time. So that's something that will allow you to still be in the market, and like maybe you will have a good opportunity, but also use that fact that you're taking automation course as like the kind of a selling point, because you can go through interview process and you can mention that, oh, I'm already taking automation. Manual QA don't know automation. So that's just going to be a huge advantage for you. So that's something that you can do too. But again, it's totally up to you. Just think like how much time you willing to input into this. If you're limited in time, maybe it makes sense to just concentrate on the job search at this point and then come back to automation later, because automation is pretty hard. If you have a lot of time, maybe it makes sense to like take automation. Okay, and then there is another question. Will the mentors reach out via Zoom, one-on-one, face-to-face? So the mentors team will just basically send you emails, and then you can schedule sessions with the mentors. Usually they just do phone calls in order to practice, but if you want like face-to-face session or something like that, you can request those as well. So just FYI, but usually it's just a phone call. All right, and let me quickly see if there are more questions. Yeah, so somebody like asked me about like manual QA and automation. I already answered that question earlier, so I'm gonna skip that one. Someone's asking me, is it easy to look for a manual QA job in Toronto? Honestly, I'm not super familiar with Canada market. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of opportunities there, but I would recommend you to maybe like look at LinkedIn, just search by location and you'll see how many jobs are there. But there are actually a decent amount of jobs in Canada for sure. Cool. When we finish internship is when we get call from mentors or emails. Yes, exactly. So after you finish internship, they will reach out. All right, so that's pretty much what I wanted to mention here. And now let's take a look at our examples. So let's quickly talk about resume and format. We're going to have it, and then LinkedIn. So first of all, I have this document. We will share it with you as well. So this is our QA resume sample that we just usually use to explain people how the resume should be done and how it should be structured. Now, first of all, you see that it's pretty pretty simple as far as styling. When you start working with the mentors, it will look a little bit different. It will actually have styles. And like you, pretty much all of you will get personalized style of resume. Our mentors actually work with certain resume building software that allows to make your resume look really custom. So you will have like more colors. It will actually attract a lot of attention, and it will be made professionally. So this is just like blank on the background just because it's a template, but keep in mind that you will actually get something that is more styled. And then here we basically have all the information that we usually recommend people to put on the resume. So before we dive into like the details, I wanted to point out that you see that this resume is basically one pager, right? So there is just one page that includes all the information about you, some summary information, some information about your internship is going to be here, and your education. So that's the first thing and the most important thing that you should remember. 10 years of experience, go to one page of resume. That is the recommended format. Please don't make the resumes that are super huge and long. Nobody's going to read them. In fact, I myself have more than 10 years of experience. I think it's probably closer to 12 by now. And I still have one page resume. With like 6 or 7 different companies, I don't even remember. So this is done intentionally because most of the HRs and recruiters, they actually don't read your resume. So they're not gonna like go through all the pages, but instead they just do the spot check. So they will look at your resume, quickly see what kind of skills you have, what kind of tools you worked with, look at some experience, education, things like this. And that's it. From that, they will basically decide to reach out or not. So we want to concentrate on the most important pieces and just put them on your resume. So then when they do the spot check, they see all the information they're looking for and they understand basically what to do right away here. Now, when you create the resume should be like solid. It should have consistent styling. And please don't use different styles and different fonts, right? So like if you look at the resume from high level perspective, it should look similar to a document, right? So we have the same font over here, over here. If you use colors, it's going to be the same couple of colors. It's not like we have a billion of bright colors everywhere. And it's very organized and very well structured. When you create the resume, it should be consistent. So for example, if you, let's say, talking about experience and like to use dots at the end of like every bullet point, put it on everyone. Like it shouldn't be the situation when some of them have dots at the end and some of them don't, right? So it should be really, really solid. Now, when you use things for like bullet points over here, like for example, the circles or like square ones, please don't try to do like something super creative, like flowers or cars or whatever. I'm mentioning because I've seen those resumes. So like try to stick to something that is pretty standard, right? So you just want to use bullets for a formatting like this. And that should look professional. And lastly, if you use colors in your resume, yes, these days, like not that many people are actually going to print out your resumes, but there is still a slight chance that somebody may want to print it out. So I highly recommend you to print out your resume in black and white color and make sure that your colors look good. So for example, if you have a resume like this, but like instead of like darker blue, you use something like light yellow or very light blue or light green or colors like this, when you print your resume in black and white ink, it's literally going to be impossible to read. It's going to be very light gray. And instead of like highlighting things that are important, people will barely like see those things and be able to read them. Again, not many companies are actually going to be printing out resumes, but there is still a slight chance. So try, like if you're using colors, try to print it out and make sure it looks fine in black and white as well. So that's about styling. Now, your resume overall, it should be broken in a few sections. So on top, we're going to put the name and we're going to put the title. So for the name, basically here you mention your first name and your last name. But sometimes some people like would like not to mention their full first name, but instead like they mention a short form. So for example, my full name is Svetlana. Literally no one can pronounce it here. So that's why on my resume, I actually have a short form of my name. It's Lana, and I go by Lana. So my name, like on my resume, actually says Lana Levinson. Now, when you go through the job interview process, if they make you an offer at the end, they always will ask you for your legal name, legal information, and you can just mention that, okay, like I go by Lana, but my full name is actually Svetlana, right? So you just mention it and they know it. Don't modify last name, please. So last name still should match because otherwise it raises questions like why the last name is different. But keep in mind that for here, you can mention something that is a short form of your name or something that you go by. I know like some people have like really long names, they prefer not to use them and they sometimes replace them with something very short like John or whatever. Again, you can put it here. Just when they've basically sent you an offer and ask for legal information, you will provide the regular, like your actual legal name. So just keep in mind, you can do that. Now, obviously, when you put a name on your resume, don't forget to capitalize the first letter and last letter. Again, I'm mentioning it because I've seen resumes with typos where first name, for example, is capitalized, but last name is not. We are QA engineers. We want to make sure that everything looks correct. So don't like try to avoid typos and try to avoid discrepancies like this. So follow certain form. Now for the title, we always put software QA engineer. So this is who we are. There are a lot of jobs under this umbrella, right? You can apply for roles that say software QA tester, regression tester, what else? QA analyst, QA engineer, QC engineer. I've seen those as well. But the most common term and the job title for what we actually do is software QA engineer. So this is what our title is, and this is what you should put on your resume. Now, keep in mind that with this title, you can still apply for all the manual positions. So if a job title says QA analyst and you're applying for that job with a software QA engineer on your resume, that's all good. Like nobody's going to question that, right? So this is what we recommend you to have. And then after this section, put your location. We recommend to put city, state, and then zip code. With this being said, if you, for example, live in a smaller city that like not that many people know about, you can put a bigger city that is next to you as your location, so people understand like basically where you're at. Here, you know, just basically try to follow this format. Like don't spell the whole thing California or like some other state. Just put abbreviation for the state, because this is the common practice, right? This is how people do it when they create resumes. Then phone number. When adding phone number, please follow this format. Again, this is the common format. Do not modify it, right? So I've seen the resumes where people will just put like numbers without this format. It's really hard to read, and then it's like hard to basically enter on your phone when people try to call you. So just follow this, it's just easier. And then you want to put your email, right? So here you just put your email. Now, when you are actually adding your email, please just like read it. Make sure it looks professional and make sure it actually makes sense. Like Lord of Destruction 77 at Gmail is a great email, but not for the job search. Or for example, I've seen emails where people would like do some other business in the past, like Oksana.nails at Gmail, and like now looks like this person is changing the career and they're switching to QA. Update your email, right? Like make sure that your email doesn't have something that is related to a different industry or like some very strange name. I think I once seen like Bad Girl 77, something like this. It's a cool email, but again, like don't use it on the job resume. And when you are adding emails, make sure that you are using email services that are common. So the best ones are Gmail and then Yahoo. If you have anything else, we would recommend you to actually register another account with Gmail or Yahoo and just use those emails. Just because people actually know these domains, they sound serious, they are professional. This is what most of the folks in the industry use. So just please stick with those. Another common mistake we see here are folks who use email addresses and inboxes from like other countries. For example, something like mail.ru is a common domain in Russia. Please don't use them. Again, if that's what you have, instead just register a gmail.com account and put that on your resume. Simply because sometimes some email services and domains in other countries may limit the inbox and basically inbound emails coming from the US. You don't want this to happen to you, so just register a regular American email, basically address here. So just use something like this. As a good practice, try to avoid year of birth in the email. So you can just put like first name, last name at Gmail. You can say first name, last name .qa at Gmail. So people do things like this. And that will usually allow you to have like really professionally looking inbox here. And then over here, it is also recommended to put the link to your LinkedIn. So we will talk about LinkedIn a little bit later, but also today. So you usually just add a link that will take you to LinkedIn profile. So when you have LinkedIn profile, you just copy your link. And then in here, you just add a link to your resume, so it will take recruiters or HRs to the profile. That's basically the idea. All right, I'm going to pause here for a second. Let me check the questions in the chat, and then we'll talk about like summary and everything else. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, I'm like trying to scroll. There are a lot of messages in the chat. So I'm trying to scroll to the ones I missed. Okay, somebody's asking about Postman and REST APIs. So again, yeah, there's lesson number 9. You can just check that video. And there is actually a whole link to like a whole another course devoted to that. So please explore that lesson. And let's see, there is another question. When we put Xcode in resume, I got the concept, but I cannot do hands-on training on it since my MacBook Pro is outdated, cannot communicate with my iPhone. Is it still okay? Yeah, so I will be talking about it a little bit later, but long story short, yes, it's totally fine. As long as you get the idea, you can totally put it in here. When you join a company, they will actually give you a computer to work with. And we only use Xcode to grab logs. We don't really do anything else with that. So that's good enough. Okay. If you have no QA job work experience, how we will write it in the resume? Yes, so mentors will help you with that. I will also get to this section a little later, but basically it will be your internship experience. And I will talk a little bit later about that in the details as well. So somebody is asking about who will be doing the resumes, mentors, or others. So yeah, mentors will help you with the resumes, and job application service is actually one of the tools that we also have. Mentors will introduce you to that. It will allow you to apply to many positions much faster. Okay. So the highlighted areas in resume means it needed improvement or needs to be removed. So those are custom areas. Mentors will help you pretty much rewrite the whole thing, so you don't have like 60 resumes that look identical with identical text. You will have your own unique set of bullets, experience, and things like this. But these yellow areas are highlighted because they will definitely go, depending on your experience or depending on your situation. So obviously name, address, and things like that are totally custom, some others too. Okay, cool. All right, let me see. What about Outlook email? Outlook is not too bad. Again, officially, we still recommend Gmail and Yahoo just because we know that we get all the mails there for sure. We're not missing anything. Comes to worse, you can use Outlook too. My personal recommendation would be to still create Gmail, but Outlook is not too bad. Cool. All right. And somebody's asking me about languages. Yes, so I will get to that too. Yeah, so cool. Let's continue then. All right, so I hope like it makes sense so far, right? The whole our org part and this top part. Now let's get to this summary and everything else. So after you have your resume, after you have your title here and like some summary here, we then go to this summary section that basically explains and summarizes your skills, your experience with QA. We talk about like the main areas that are important, and then we will also mention all the technical things here. So when we create summary, the first line usually should tell about your experience and like your knowledge. So when you create this first line, definitely mention that you have some experience testing web and mobile apps. It's really necessary to mention both web and mobile. So this is the critical part here, because there are a lot of jobs on the market that ask for web, some jobs that ask for mobile, and some that ask for both. So we want to highlight that we basically have experience with both, right? So that's the top one. After that, it's a good practice to mention what kinds of testing you perform. So for example, saying something like having solid knowledge of such and such types of testing, or performing black box, functional UI, smoke regression testing. So some variant of that, and that will just highlight your experience and types of testing that you know. When you do manual testing, this is like really similar. So black box testing just basically means that we don't really look into the source code of the app. We just approach the app from the point of view of a black box, just as a user would do. And we interact with UI elements in order to make sure that everything works okay. Functional testing is basically the same. It just basically highlights that we actually check functionality of the features. So it's really similar. That's exactly what we're doing when we tap in buttons, opening links, and do things like this. UI just says that we can also do UI testing, verify style, designs, things like this. Smoke and regression are just stages of our basically development life cycle. So we do smoke testing when we have to like only test very small amount of test cases and make sure that major functionality of the app is working. And then the regression testing we usually do before releases, when we like retest everything before we release, just to make sure that everything is working. So pretty much all of this is just describing manual testing, like manual interaction with the app and verifying that things are working. That's why we just clarify this here. Then if you want to, you can also add a line here about test documentation. So for example, hands-on experience, or you can say like solid knowledge of QA documentation, test case creation and execution, things like this. You don't have to put it in the summary, but if you want to mention test documentation, it will go under these types of testing. So this line will be here. Then everything related to collaboration, like collaboration with developers, product managers, and things like this, will go here, all right, under the like experience with test documentation or types of testing. During the internship, you will definitely interact with a few different folks, so you will be familiar with that. That's just a good point to mention that you are a good team worker, and you're not afraid to communicate with other folks. So that's something that people usually mention here. And then all kinds of additional skills or like additional things you want to mention, they will go below that. So for example, analytical skills, attention to the details, exceptional organizational skills, exceptional time management skills, great individual contributor, great team player, all those things will just go under under QA area. So on top you have like everything that is devoted to QA, and then here you will have all kinds of additional information that you want to mention. Now for languages, if you know multiple languages, we would recommend you to have this line. If you only speak English over here, don't put this line. It doesn't really change anything here. But if you speak multiple languages, just add this line, say English, and whatever other language you speak just goes here, right? Spanish, Russian, whatever. So all of them will just go here. Just keep on adding them. If you have multiple languages on your resume, that keeps on basically that just gives you ability to get QA jobs related to localization, testing, and internalization testing and things like this. So there are actually QA jobs over there that will require you, for example, to test an app, but in another language. So if you actually know multiple languages, that will be attractive for those kind of opportunities. So don't forget to mention it. It actually is a good point here. But again, if you only speak English, just don't put this line in here. You can just take it out. And then after that, basically at the end, your bottom line here should talk about your status. Now, if you are a United States citizen, or if you have a green card, you just put it here, right? So if you say, if you're a United States citizen, you basically say UA citizen here. If you're a green card holder, you just say green card holder here. And that's just going to be your last line. Now, if you have a different status, right? So for example, if you are on EAD asylum, or if you have some other work authorization card of some form that allows you to work at the territory of the United States without any additional visa sponsorship and things like this, we recommend you to not put it here. So don't put it under the summary. This is something that you can mention to the recruiter separately, but please don't put it here. So the reason for this is actually just practical. We've noticed from just experience of our past students that a lot of HRs and recruiters actually are not familiar with EAD asylum status or some other legal statuses. And they just basically, when they read in something like this, they start thinking that you may require visa sponsorship or H-1B or something like this. And not that many companies are actually willing to do it. So that's why they will just not call you, just simply because they think that they will have to provide some sort of visa sponsorship for you. So that's why it's better to just avoid it here on the resume. And then if you don't have anything that clarifies your status on the resume, during the first call, this first phone screen call with HR or recruiter, they will always ask you about the status. So they will basically ask you are you a United States citizen, or are you authorized to work at the territory of the United States? So you can basically tell them that yes, I have work authorization. I don't require any visa sponsorship, totally allowed and authorized to work here. That's it, right? So that's going to be a good answer. And this line is not going to scare them from just reading your resume. So just keep this in mind. This is also written here, but that's important. Okay, and the next part here are just technical summary and technical tools. So under this summary about your experience and knowledge and things like this, we then recommend you to put technical summary and just include all the technical tools that you are familiar with. So when your HR or recruiter or whoever is looking at your resume, when they read your resume, they can clearly find the technologies you're familiar with, and it's easy for them to understand which tools you're comfortable with. So first of all, platforms. In here, we just put operating systems. So Mac OS, Windows, iOS, Android, Linux are just recommended ones. Now, if you are not comfortable like about a particular operating system, there are tons of YouTube videos. So you can just like look up, like, for example, how to work with Mac OS or how to work with Windows. And you usually can learn it really quickly within like 5-10 minutes. The idea is pretty much the same. There are like some customization for different desktop systems, but it's usually pretty easy to learn. iOS, Android are operating systems for our mobile devices. So that's something that will help you with mobile testing. So please put them here. Now, if you, for example, don't have like any experience with, for example, iOS, and you're an Android user and only have Android, or vice versa, and you like don't feel comfortable, I would recommend you to go to browser stack. I think during lesson number 9, we were talking about browser stack at the beginning. You can create a profile with browser stack, go to mobile testing, and basically take iOS or Android, the platform you're not familiar with, and just like try to interact with the device, pop through that device a little bit, just familiarize yourself with what it is and how it works, and that's good enough. So you just should be like a user level here. Same goes to Linux. You don't have to like know any kind of professional tricks or things here. You just need to have like idea on how to work with the system. So if you want to, you can also add Linux to your resume. I understand that probably like almost nobody here had any experience with that. So if you're adding this platform, definitely find some YouTube videos that explain like what Linux operating system is and how it works. If you're like absolutely not comfortable, you can take it out. So this one's definitely not required. Mac, Windows, iOS, and Android, those are must-haves. So these ones you should definitely put here. But Linux, you can omit if you don't feel absolutely comfortable with it. Now, mobile testing. So for mobile testing, the tools that we usually use are Android Studio, Xcode, ADB, Android Debug Bridge, and Browser Stack. We use these tools for a very limited functionality. For example, Android Studio and ADB simply allows us to grab device logs, or, for example, install the app on the device, or through Android Studio, you can, for example, also open an Android emulator. We really don't do anything else with those tools. We are not developers. So you just basically put those tools here. And then if somebody's asking you, how did you use those tools in the past, or like what for you were using those tools, you can hopefully after the previous lessons, you can just explain that ADB is used to install the build or grab the log files. I can use Android Studio to get an Android emulator if I need to. Also, you usually don't even need to. We just do the testing on the real devices. But that's it. For Xcode, we only use Xcode to grab the logs from iOS device. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's also convenient to use Xcode to take a screenshot of your iPhone or iOS device and like save that screenshot on your computer right away. But that's pretty much it, right? We don't really use it for anything else. So as long as you have an example on how you use it in the past and can explain that this is the tool that allows me to grab the logs, you can just put it here, and that's it. Now, Browser Stack, again, is the tool that we've talked about during our lesson number 9. It just allows you to connect to a bunch of different devices that are like somewhere in the cloud. Pick a device and do your testing. So if you haven't explored Browser Stack, we've talked about it during lesson number 9. I recommend you to just go to browserstack.com, create a free account, and just play with it a little bit. It's really easy to use. So after you play with that tool for like 15-20 minutes, you will just understand how to pick a device and do the testing. That's it. So that's why we also have it here. Now for bug tracking. Jira and TestRail. It is pronounced Jira, not Jira or anything else. This is Jira. Please make sure you pronounce it right. And then TestRail. So we use Jira for bug reporting. I hope you remember. And usually engineering teams use Jira in order to create tickets, manage the progress, like look at the statuses. And we also use it to create bugs and look at the progress, update those tickets. If developers send us bugs for verification, we will test those tickets and then we will send them back to developers if they're not fixed, or we will close it. You will have definitely like more experience with those tools after the internship, but that's the main reason why we have it, right? So simply bug tracking for us. TestRail is used for test case management. Some companies actually also use Jira for that. So actually Jira has some plugins that allow you to have test cases in Jira. It's not as good as TestRail, but it's also possible. Most of the companies, though, will be using TestRail. So this is the most common tool in the market for test case management. We use TestRail to create test cases, update test cases. And when we execute test cases, we also use TestRail to put the status, right? So I open one test case, I take my device, right? I do the testing. If everything is good, I go to TestRail and I mark that test case as passed. Most likely, probably like 70 to 80% of you guys will be just doing that. And you won't be even like creating new test cases very often, because most of the companies, they already have test cases defined. So when you join a company as a QA engineer, most of you will be just executing the test cases they already have and just do that on a regular basis. Especially bigger companies, there are like not that many new features. There are just like some small updates here and there. So you just execute test cases they already have. Startups and smaller companies, it's a little bit different. There is a chance that you will be creating some test cases, but keep in mind that these two tools something that you must have on your resume, because they are the most important tools for QA engineer. What else? Chrome DevTools, right? I hope you remember, right? If you do, for example, like right click inspect, and that opens Chrome DevTools. So this is it, right? So this is Chrome DevTools. We have multiple tabs here that we can use if we need to. For example, Elements tab will allow us to find an element, like if we need to see its size or whatever, we can actually use element, and like styles in here to actually look at the styles, right? If you need to like find out what is the font family, or what's the font size on the website, you can just use that tab here. I think during lesson number 9, we were also talking about network. This allows you to see like client server communication stuff. So that's pretty much it. We don't really use Chrome DevTools for any kind of like super advanced features like performance or whatever. From manual testing perspective, we just basically do this Elements tab, network, and we rarely do more than this. Right, so that's another thing that we will have here. And then some additional things that you can have here are API testing and database knowledge. So for API testing, during our lesson number 9, I mentioned that we have a whole like API testing course where I talk about Postman, REST APIs, how to make requests, how to actually do the backend API testing and things like this. So if you take that course and watch through those videos, feel free to add API testing to your resume. If you haven't taken that course, don't put it on your resume, because API testing is a specific tool, like, I'm sorry, is a specific skill with a certain specific tools that you must know for that. So if you haven't looked at that course, don't put it here. But if you are planning to review that course, or if you've already looked at that one, please add those skills here. And database, so for database, you will have one lesson at the end of this course that will be devoted to database and SQL. SQL is just a query language that allows you to get data in the database. And we usually put it like here in yellow just because it's up to students. If you feel that, okay, I got that lesson, I understood what they're talking about, I can do it, and you really understand it and memorize some SQL commands, feel free to just put database here as well on your resume. If you took that class, watch that video, I think it's lesson 17. I'm pretty sure it's actually the next lesson after this one. And if it doesn't make sense, like you watch the whole lesson, don't understand anything, doesn't make sense at all, just don't put database in there. You can just like take out that skill for now. Maybe later you can add it when you actually learn it. But if SQL doesn't make sense to you, don't put it on the resume so you don't like get some questions that you can't answer. So that's it. That's basically the summary here. And then let me quickly check the chat, and then we'll talk about work experience as well. Cool. All right, so I think I answered that. I talked about languages. Is it recommended to memorize how to use grep commands in Unix? Grep is more of an advanced command. Don't remember exactly if it's on list of our recommended commands. Let me quickly see if I have. If I have that. You know, I can't actually find a document in here. But basically, I think lesson number 9 includes some videos on Unix. And those videos will also like share like some links with like some materials. So during that video, Yuri actually answers that question. So I would probably refer you to lesson number 9 because I don't remember if that one is included in the ones we recommend or not. We definitely recommend you to memorize some basic ones, right? So for example, like CD, MKD, LS and things like that, but I'm not sure about grep, to be honest. Okay, cool. So that's it. Should we mention knowing basic Unix commands in our resume? No, you don't have to mention that as like a standalone tool here as well. If you have Linux, by default, people usually understand that you know some Unix commands, but we usually don't put it as a separate technology. We honestly don't really use them in manual testing. Often it's more of a like that material is more for you to like have an idea in case someone asks you an interview question about Unix commands. But in real life, as a manual QA engineer, I don't remember ever using Unix commands, to be honest. I only started to use Unix commands myself when I became a senior level automation engineer, not even like junior/middle level automation. It came like really later. So that like Unix commands materials are mostly just so you can answer interview questions, because sometimes you may get an interview with like an engineering manager or a developer who think that everybody should know a little bit of computer science. So that's when they may ask you some questions like that. All right, how can I learn more about API testing? So again, lesson number 9. On the slides, it has the link that will take you to API testing course. I don't know if I have it saved over here, but on the slides for lesson number 9, oh, actually I have it right here. There is a link devoted to API testing here. So slide 10, lesson number 9. Here you find the link to our API testing course, and you can just watch that one. If you open this link and the course doesn't load yet, That's okay. We usually turn on that code after people pretty much done with manual testing course. So it will just open for you when you complete manual course. If it's available right now, then you can just start it now, then it's available. Okay, so that's pretty much it, what I wanted to mention here. Now, let's talk about work experience and education really quickly, and then we'll do a break. So work experience section should basically contain the experience that is relevant to your current job search. So under work experience, you will put your experience with the internship. So the start date will always be the months when you join the internship to current, right? So basically, for example, if you, I don't know, it's February right now, if you, let's say, joined the internship in March, your start date will be March 2023, and then basically say to current, because when you join our internship, you can actually take it for as long as you need. So for example, if you're still looking for the job, you can just still be in that internship group. You won't have to, like, after this first 3 weeks, you won't have to perform many tasks. You can like check on the internship channel and tasks here and there. But while you're looking for a job, basically this time will increase because you're still technically the part of our internship. So that's the first thing. Then here you will put the title. It's going to be software QA engineer. And at the company, so here you will put the company for your internship, right? So don't put careerist or anything else. You will have different internship projects. So you will just put the name of your internship company here. And then location, so city and the state. When you basically create this section, make sure you actually separate time from like this block, so it visually looks fine and people can actually read and understand what it says. Make sure that this line doesn't break into 2 lines, so make sure that it visually looks fine. Then under work experience, you will basically put information on what you've done during the internship and what you're working on. So here you will have the summary, like testing web and mobile apps, tracking, reporting issues with Jira, developing, maintaining, running test cases, and so on. Obviously, please don't copy this text. Work with your mentors. So this section is absolutely individual for every one of you. And for every one of those points, just use a bullet like this. Don't make those lines too complex. Like sometimes people tend to overcomplicate things and they will turn like this line into 3 different lines describing the application itself and like details of execution and things like this. You don't want to do that. Just keep it short and straight to the point, so it's clear for whoever is reading it, like what you're actually doing, and they basically understand the idea here. Depending on your internship project, you'll probably have a little bit different experience here. So work with your mentors. Again, they will help you to tailor that to the project you're working on. Right, so that's this here. If you have any kind of other experience that is relative to testing, QA, I don't know, software or like computers in some sense, you can put it under work experience too. If you have other experience that's not really relevant to QA, we usually recommend not to put it in here, to just like really keep it like concentrated on what you're looking for. So usually this is just a good practice from hiring managers and like HR's perspective, so they understand like what you're looking for, what's your experience, and they're not distracted by like some other jobs that you may have. Now, if you, for example, have like some past experience that you're not sure whether to put it in here or not, talk to the mentors. They will recommend you what to do. Like, for example, let's say you have a job, it's related to quality control, but it's not software quality. Should I put it here or should I not? Ask the mentors. They will actually recommend you because they basically have a list of things that you can put and the list of things that it is not recommended to have in here. Latest experience always comes first, right? So we go from latest here and then to the past. Just make sure to not have like way too many bullets, right? So ideally, we don't recommend you to have more than 6, 8 different points because otherwise it just looks too heavy and it's not like really clear exactly what you're doing. So that's something here. And then education section should contain your education. It usually goes as the last section under your work experience. Now, the most common mistake I see on the resume is that education has the wrong order. So same idea as with everything else. The latest completed course, I don't know, degree, whatever, goes on top. Everything that you did before that goes below that. Right, so for example, here you have like this course, so it goes on top, and then like all the other like degrees or whatever is completed goes under it. If you, for example, started to, let's say, get your degree but didn't finish it, you can also put it under education. Just mention that to the mentors. They actually have like a good wording for that, like how to put it. I don't remember exactly how to phrase it right now. Something like 3 years into something or whatever. But long story short, you can definitely mention it over here. Just ask the mentors; they will tell you how to format it so it sounds good. So that's the idea. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm gonna answer them, and then we'll do a quick break after this. Yeah, so somebody's also like asking me, I actually see a few questions about like past experience. So yeah, just ask mentors, right? So education, teacher, and things like this. It actually depends on what you're teaching there, probably. So like maybe talk to the mentor and then they can recommend. Because I know like we had a few teachers who actually did mention it under experience, but that was mostly related to like mass testing or like not testing, IT tech, something like that. So it's like not always something that you would put here, but talk to the mentor just to be sure. Will we get some practice on all types of testing on internship? Yes, of course. So on internship, you will work with a real project and you will just basically perform regular tasks that people do while working as a QA engineer. So you will have experience working with all the systems that I mentioned, but also like performing different types of testing, reporting bugs, communicating with all the participants of the process and things like that. Okay, let's see what else. So the question about education, what if education, we have degree in biology, but it's not relevant to this resume, we should still put bachelor's in biology? Yes, so for education, it's actually, if you have a completed degree, or even if you have a few years towards a certain degree, it's a good thing to have on the resume, just to mention that you actually were doing it. So it doesn't matter what kind of area that is, you can just put it here. Like for example, I have master's in economics, so basically I have like a bunch of software, computer science on top, and then basically economics is like the degree that I have at the bottom, but I still keep it. Yes. Cool. I feel like telecom experience could be relevant, but maybe talk to the mentor because I don't want to lie or make a mistake here. Sorry. Real estate's probably going to be irrelevant, most likely. If I have a degree from another country, should I put it? Yes, totally, of course. Yeah, so just basically it's going to be like your degree, the name of the university, and then you put either like state and country, or you can just put like country or city and country. That's something you can do. So it doesn't matter what kind of country it is from. Nice. All right, cool. I hope it makes sense. If you think of any other questions, just post them in the chat. We're a little bit late on the break, so let's do a break right now. Let's see, it's 6:30, basically 6:37 for me right now. So I'll see you back in 10 minutes. It's going to be 6:47, and then we'll continue and we will talk a little bit more about this and LinkedIn profile. If you have any questions, just post it in the chat. I'll start with them. All right, so I think let's continue. Let me quickly check the chat. Someone's asking me, how long did you do manual before you moved to automation? I actually started to learn automation right away, but I was doing just manual testing for about a year. And after that, I started to work for another company, and then there I was doing manual and automation. Like while I was doing manual testing, I was learning automation. So another question is from someone. They basically ask, will we accommodate time adjustment for the internship? How many hours internship takes? So long story short, yes, internship will be fully remote. And it will require you to do some tasks. It's usually no more than a couple hours per day. So you can totally like be very, very flexible with that. I think we have like some time set for people to provide the updates and like actually show up a little bit during some sessions. But you don't have to, like, if you can't make it, you can just post your update in Slack, and it's like really super flexible. We understand that people work and it's very hard to combine with the work, so don't be worried about that one. Someone mentions Udemy. Do you recommend we mention if we never used it? So Udemy is just a platform that allows you to take some courses and learn something. Maybe there are references to some additional courses. But the moral of the story in general, if you are creating your resume or anything, avoid the tools that you don't know about. So if you've never used it, don't mention it. Otherwise, you may get a question about it, and then it will be a little bit awkward. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all I wanted to mention here. The next thing I wanted to talk about is LinkedIn. So again, don't create LinkedIn just yet. This is something that you will create after you have the resume and after you start working with the mentor. So LinkedIn, for those of you who are not familiar, is a social platform. It's a professional social platform that allows you to do a few things. First of all, to have a profile with your work experience, with your skills summary, and things like this. It also allows you to message and connect with people. So it's easier to connect with recruiters, potential like colleagues, and you can add them as your connections. And then you can also use LinkedIn for job search. In fact, it's one of the best tools for the job search. When I look for jobs, LinkedIn is actually my #1 resource. So I highly recommend you to use it. This platform is really powerful, and it will really simplify your job application process a lot. So in order to be using LinkedIn, it would be nice to have a good LinkedIn profile. We do have an instruction here on how to create the profile, and we will share that in the materials after today's lesson as well. But let me quickly just talk through that with examples so it'll make more sense. So first of all, LinkedIn should basically be a reflection of your resume. So like literally everything that you have on your resume should match whatever you have on LinkedIn. This is important, like especially make sure your dates, your education, stuff like that matches. I do mock interview sessions with QA automation students, and sometimes I see mismatch between resume and LinkedIn. So just double check before you post something on LinkedIn that it's basically the same as your resume. So when you create LinkedIn profile, it's nice to like have it personalized with photo. So please add your photo. The photo should be professional looking, right? So something like some nice picture where people can see your face, that'd be good, right? So please don't put like some images instead of your photo. I know some people do it, it looks a little bit weird. Don't do this. Try to make sure you have a good light, and overall your photo should look professional. This is not Instagram, right? So try to keep it professional. So that's one. Then it's also good to have a background. So on LinkedIn, you can change background, like default background to some image. Also pick something that is professional, and it should be neutral. So please try to avoid any kind of backgrounds that are associated with like some religion preferences or views, some political views and things like this. It could be good for other platforms, but let's try to avoid it on LinkedIn. It doesn't look professional, right? So just pick something neutral like this. So this is our default example. Let me see, I think I have my profile open somewhere. 1 second. So this is how my profile looks. So something like that, right? So just a neutral image on the background. That's good. Then you put your name. It should match whatever you have on your resume. So make sure that this is here, and then you put the title. Right, so title should be software QA engineer. Again, please don't put things like QA tester, QA analyst, or whatever. Software QA engineer sounds the most professional out of all these options, and it definitely includes all these other things that you can do under software QA engineering. So that's what you want to have. And then for company, just mention your company, and this company should match with your latest experience, right? So company here should match company here. When you go through the internship project, you will have the company, internship company, so you will just use that. Please don't put careerist or anything else. You don't work for careerist. When you do internship work, you do it for that company. So just put that company in there, right? So that should match here. And then you just put your location here as well, and your contact information. So again, that should match what you have here on your resume. Now, under about section, you put your summary, right? So your summary that is here goes under about section right here on your LinkedIn profile. And then you put your experience, so same order, right? Like top, like the latest experience on top, and the previous one goes below that. Education, if you have like anything additional, you can put it here, and then some skills. Please don't forget to put skills. So under the skills, you want to put those technical skills that we've mentioned here, right? So those technical skills from here, and then you can put some additional ones, right? So, but don't forget about Chrome DevTools, Android Studio, ADB, Browser Stack, TestRail, quality assurance. Don't forget quality assurance. Testing is a good skill. SQL, if you take SQL lesson and want to add it here, manual testing, Xcode, iOS, Android. So you can actually use this profile as an example, and skills that are relevant and like make sense to you and we've covered during this course, feel free to just put on your profile as well. Right, so that will go here under skills. Now, one thing about LinkedIn is that you want to have some connections, right? So you want your LinkedIn to look alike, so you should have some connections. Ideally, we recommend to have more than 500 connections. In order to get connections easy, you can just do this. Basically, when you create the profile, go to search and search for technical recruiter. So that will help you find people. We want people, so click people, right? And then you can filter by your location, right? So here we can filter by the location. Let's pick San Francisco Bay Area, for example, show results, right? You see there are more than 18,000 results. So you can like just click connect and connect to a few people. So don't like try to do a lot of connections at the same day. Try to add like 3 to 5 connections per day, so LinkedIn like doesn't block you because you like spamming people or do something like this. Just click connect and connect with recruiters in your area. Recruiters pretty much always, just add connections because they are interested in IT professionals, so it's just easy to connect to some, and then your profile looks more alive and you can keep on adding them. If you have like fellow students who want to add you on LinkedIn, you can do that as well. Just like make sure you're keeping that profile alive. So again, ideally we recommend to have more than 500 connections. Let me go back. But even if you have some of them, like for example, even if you have like 80, 90 connections, that's already good. That means like your profile is alive. So that looks good to people. That's what you want to have here. Okay, let me pause here for a second before I go to the next topic, and let me check the chat because I think there were some questions. Let's see. Yes, so there are folks saying like it'll be strange feeling realizing like the new career. Yeah, I know for sure. But yeah, you will need to update it basically, or you can try to create a new profile if you want to, but that might be a little bit like confusing if recruiters can find like 2 active profiles for the same person for different jobs. That doesn't really look good. So we usually recommend people to just like update the current profile and put like match the recommendations and put our internship experiences in there as well. And what if I already have a LinkedIn profile? Again, we just recommend to update. But this being said, I know everyone's situation is absolutely individual. So if you're not sure, if you don't know what to do, or like not sure to change it, not to change it, and how to change it, also talk to the mentors because they've seen pretty much all those scenarios, so they can advise you like what to do in your situation. But it'd be better to just update it and like make it match your current like QA job search process, so you can use your LinkedIn profile for QA job search. All right, let's see. So I've worked 16 years in non-relevant field. So if I don't put this work experience in the resume, will I be asked what you have been doing all this time? Sometimes, sometimes people ask you like if they see only like QA internship experience or something like that on the resume, they may ask you something like, so have you changed the field recently? Why did you change to QA? It's super rare though. Usually folks don't really ask anything that is like outside of what you have on your resume, but that could be the question. So for that, you basically just need to mention that, yeah, like I'm changing my career, I was interested in tech, and like whatever your story is, just explain to them that you're switching to QA. That's it. All right. So yeah, I mentioned this, right? Again, just make sure that you're following your resume and all the details in here. Now, one thing that I usually see our students forget when they create LinkedIn profiles are skills. So please make sure that you put skills on your profile. In fact, skills are critical because when companies put job postings on LinkedIn, under the job postings, companies will put certain skills. Now, if you actually don't have a LinkedIn Premium and only have like a regular LinkedIn profile, you won't know about this. You won't have that information. But people who actually, for example, have LinkedIn Premium or like recruiters, when they go to different jobs, let's see, for example, this one, they usually can see the skills under those jobs. So let me see if I can like easily find one of those positions. If I can, I will just show you an example. Here it is, right? So I have a LinkedIn Premium account, and see, like when I go to this row, for example, like it's automation because I'm an automation engineer, but for you, you will see manual. So when I have LinkedIn Premium, you can see that it shows me that I have 9 out of 10 skills. And it basically uses the skills to rate your profile. So if I click this apply button, my profile will go on like one of the top ones, and LinkedIn will actually recommend my profile to whoever posted this job, just because I have so many skills matching. So LinkedIn takes those skills from the skills that you put under your profile. And some of the skills could be like pretty generic, right? Like testing. So don't forget to put it in here. And when you create your LinkedIn profile, definitely put some skills. And in the skills, just put testing in different variants, right? So you can say quality assurance, software quality assurance testing, all the other skills. So when you apply for those positions, that skill will be there. Because some companies will post a position and under skills, they will put testing, and some companies under skills will put software quality assurance or like software quality, for example. So you kind of want to cover as many as you can, and don't forget to mention skills. That's actually critically important, but that's like number one thing that people always forget, and like I always have to remind folks about it. So skills, again, we'll just go here, and you can just add, like keep on adding them. So make sure to include everything. So that's the main thing, right? About our LinkedIn profile and what to put in here. Now, another thing that is important here about LinkedIn is that when you do any kind of activity on LinkedIn, like some post, I don't know, leave a comment or whatever, sometimes it could be treated by recruiters as like one way of like seeing your preferences or things you like, you don't like, or whatever. So ideally, we recommend you to hide this activity, so recruiters can't even like see your comments and like what you've been doing. In order to do this, it's actually really easy. On LinkedIn, you go to this LinkedIn public profile /settings page. So this is the URL. And then when you open the setting, see on the right, it says like your profile's public visibility. You just scroll down to articles and activity right here and hide it. So it should be like the toggle should be hide, right? So show, you do hide. So it disappears, right? If I show, you see that like it shows all the activity, all the likes and things like this. When I click hide, it updates and it just hides it. If you have activity shown right now, sometimes it doesn't update right away, but usually within the same day, it just updates, and like the next day it disappears. That's another thing that would be nice to do. So you actually don't have it visible for folks. That's what you have here too. All right, so that's the idea. And then you can use LinkedIn in order to look for jobs. So basically, you can click here on jobs, and LinkedIn will recommend you some jobs, or you can search jobs by title, right? So you can search for QA engineer, test engineer, QA tester, all kinds of positions, manual tester, and things like this. Please use LinkedIn. Again, in my opinion, this is the best resource. If it's not the best resource, it's definitely like one of the best resources that you can use for job hunting. Because when you apply for a job that is posted on LinkedIn, these jobs, they are actually posted directly by the companies, right? So for example, like, I don't know, let's click this one. All right, so this is Cisco, and it's posted directly by them. So when you apply, it will go directly to the HR of that company. So you don't have any kind of third-party agencies, recruiting agencies, or whoever else will be taking part of your salary. It just goes directly to the company. So first of all, it's a better chance of like being noticed and seen, so people can just contact you back right away. And also, it's good because you don't have this like third-party actors in between. So you get paid directly by that company, and it's like very clear and really transparent in there. That's something that you can do. So that's the idea. Keep in mind that job search is a numbers game. I'm sure they already mentioned that a few times. So in tech, in order to get a job, we should apply to many positions. Usually it's at least 200 positions, like 200 to 300 positions is kind of an average. So the more jobs you apply, the better. It's not just QA, it's everything. It includes engineering, product management, designers, and pretty much everything in tech. It's a pretty advanced interviewing process pretty much all the time. So you really want to apply to as many positions as you see. And on LinkedIn, there are a lot of different opportunities. So please use this resource. In order to be really like noticed, make sure that you work with the mentor and your resume is actually done. It's definitely verified by mentor. It looks good. So when you apply for a particular position from your profile and like or send your resume, your profile looks professional. Your resume looks professional, it looks good, so people will actually notice you and they will get back in touch with you. Like the more noticeable you are, the better your resume is, the more calls you're gonna get, and basically the more companies will interview with you. So that's why it's important to really pay attention to the details. Needless to say, make sure your resume doesn't have typos, like run it through Grammarly or like Microsoft Word. Make sure that all the words are spelled correctly, has the right format, and things like this. Our mentors will do that too, but extra pair of eyes is not going to hurt. So make sure that you actually really polish this stage. So then you're definitely going to get a lot of calls back. And the more calls you get, the more interviews you land with the companies, and the more interviews you have, the sooner you get a job. That's it. It's unfortunately in tech, it's a numbers game. So please keep this in mind. This is important. All right, let me check the chat actually, no, before I check the chat, one last thing that I wanted to mention and forgot. So when you look for jobs on LinkedIn, you also have this like open to button. So if you click on it, open to, here it is, you can pick find a new job. And then here you can put some preferences. So that is really helpful if you search a particular particular opportunity. So here you can pick like what kind of roles you're looking for, like hybrid, remote, on-site job, right? You can definitely modify it. You can put job titles here, like for example, QA engineer, QA quality assurance specialist, QA analyst, right? Manual. I think they used to have manual QA. I don't see it right now here. All right, fine. So test engineer. Well, I think you got the idea, right? Test analyst. We're getting there. And like basically in here, like just specify QA things, right? So all like opportunities with these job titles will definitely be like when HRs or recruiters hire for those positions, all those opportunities will just show them your resume. So when they look for candidates on LinkedIn, like your profile should appear. You can pick locations right here, like if on-site, can pick locations if remote. You can pick start date immediately, for example. And like here, you can pick job types. So full-time, for example, contract, part-time, so things like this, right? When you click add to profile, it will just update your profile with all those settings. And it will definitely be clear for recruiters that you're open to new opportunities. All right, so this is it about LinkedIn. Again, you do have a very detailed instruction. So over here, with like step-by-step information on how to provide the details for summary, experience, skills, education. So use this, but ideally, profile similar to this is what you want to see and what you want to get in the end. Okay, I'm going to pause here. Let me check the chat. We have a lot of comments, questions, and things like this. But this is pretty much it, by the way. What I wanted to mention today, we pretty much covered everything. So let me know if you have any questions, and we will spend just the remaining like 15 questions. I'm sorry, 15 minutes answering your questions. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm still scrolling up. I'm looking for the ones I missed. So there are actually a couple questions about previous work experience. Should I put previous work experience, which is not QA, on LinkedIn? And resume, definitely not on the resume on LinkedIn. Sometimes folks keep their past experience, but pass it by mentor. So definitely ask mentor if your experience like relevant at all, if it's recommended to have it on LinkedIn or not, and then just basically follow their advice, because everybody's experience and situation is different. So there is like no right answer for everyone. So just talk to the mentor. They'll give you the individual answer based on your situation. How much is LinkedIn Premium? I think it's $29 per month. But like in my case, actually, I get it through the company, through the employer, so I don't actually pay for it. Some IT companies have benefits like that. And yeah, I think they do have like 1 month free trial, I'm pretty sure. Okay, cool. Let's see. Do we need to put automation as a skill even though we don't have experience? Please no, don't put automation. Automation will go after you learn automation if you go that way. For manual testing, please don't include anything related to automation. Should we put agile methodology for skills for the manual QA? Yes, if you understand what it is and you can explain it well, you can definitely mention that. Yeah, and then there are like another question about like past experience on LinkedIn. Just like, please talk to the mentors. They will recommend the best depending on your experience. Do they normally state if the position is remote? Yes, they usually mention it. Sometimes they may say something like remote/hybrid. It means it could be a remote position or could be hybrid. And when you look for jobs, it's one of the good things I like about LinkedIn. So when you look for jobs, let's come here. For example, you can search for QA engineer. Oh no, here it is. And then I think it's over here. You can clarify remote, or actually maybe it's not here. Maybe it's United States here, but somewhere under job type. Oh no, I'm sorry, under here. They added a separate filter, huh? So you can just like filter them by remote, right? Here we go. And that's it. So now you have all those roles. Yeah, so by the way, software developer in test, this is QA automation. This is not the developer, it's QA automation role right here. Senior quality engineer, this is manual testing, senior level. So that's it. Like I obviously get like more automation results here, just because I have automation on my experience, but for you, you will get like more relevant results with more of like manual testing. Like quality assurance engineer 2, this is manual testing. Engineer 2 is actually pretty low level. It's like between junior and middle. So this is a good like beginner level position here. Yeah. All right, let me go back to the questions. Please update the LinkedIn account after you talk to the mentors and after you created the resume with the mentors. So again, for now, don't create the resume, don't update the LinkedIn. Just finish this course, go through at least 3 weeks of internship. Then mentors will get in touch with you, and then start working with the mentors on the resume creation and LinkedIn update. So please don't do it now, later. Yeah, and create it later. Don't create it right now. Do you recommend to get a premium account on LinkedIn for us as new manual QA engineers? Well, from my experience, like technically school doesn't recommend you to do it. You don't have to. But from my experience, I noticed that people with premium accounts get a little bit more attention. So I probably wouldn't buy it right now. But when you update your resume, create your profile, have some connections on LinkedIn, when you do that, and like really start applying and looking for jobs, you can at least get like that 1 month free subscription with LinkedIn, and at least use that just so you get a little bit more attention from recruiters. This is what I would do. Probably I wouldn't recommend you to like really purchase it and spend a lot of money on this. It doesn't give you like that much of an advantage, but you know, it's free and at least 1 month. Why not? I would use that. Okay, let's see. Been a while since I've been through the interview process, but it seems excessive to have multiple interviews and lasting 3-4 hours for a potential 6 months job. So if it's a short-term contract, like 6 months contract, 3 months contract, usually they don't follow that long standard interview process. For short-term contracts like this, it's usually just a couple interviews, like it's going to be called with HR recruiter 30 minutes, then probably call with a manager and a member of a QA team, and it will be like just 2 people in 1 hour. So that's what I usually see for a very short-term contract like this. But if it's a longer term, like 1-year contract, or for example, like full-time opportunity, then yeah, there are going to be multiple stages and sometimes multiple hours. That's just how this industry works, unfortunately. So if you only select the remote option, would you still want to add only recruiters in your area to connect with? No, you can go ahead and add more folks from other areas. That's totally fine. Okay. So hybrid, yeah, hybrid is a mix of remote and office work. Usually these days, company will do like 2 or 3 days in office and 2 or 3 days at home. That's like the most common setting I've seen. Do you put your phone number in LinkedIn? When you register, you do. But you see, like, it's not visible on your profile. It actually will be only visible to your like to recruiters who send you an interview invitation through LinkedIn. So if you accept that invitation and connect with them, then usually they can see it and they can call it. But like regular users of LinkedIn, they won't see it. And also recruiters, I think, don't see it unless you accept their invitation. Okay. What level of position for QA engineer should we look at? Honestly, look at everything. Because like we used to say, look at junior and middle level positions, and also look at everything with QA analyst. Because QA analyst jobs are really easy. Even senior level QA analyst positions are just about updating test cases usually. So it's like QA analyst is like one step down, like comparing to QA engineer. QA engineer is like higher level. But we do have a decent amount of graduates who actually, after the graduation, managed to get senior positions. And we even had a few folks who managed to get lead positions right away. So I would just recommend you to read through the job description. If you understand at least 50% of it, then that's good enough. That means like you can actually apply for that position, and that's good. If the job description looks like totally alien language, and I don't know, like for some reason asks for automation or coding or things like this, don't do it. But if it's, for example, a senior position and under job description, it basically says familiarity with Jira test trail, ability to run and execute test cases, basic knowledge of, I don't know, ADB command, Android Studio Xcode, you can definitely apply for that one. So that's the approach. Cool. Someone's asking me, where did I learn Python? Where did I learn Python? I think I learned it in I took so many courses, I don't even remember the name. I took like a data science bootcamp. What was it? General Assembly, probably. See, I don't even have it in here. Great. So I think it was, oh, here it is. Yeah, General Assembly. So I took a data science bootcamp there, and this is where I learned Python. But yes, somebody already recommended there are a few free courses. There are a lot of free resources available, so you can like just find some videos on YouTube. And then we will also have one more lessons with you. It's going to be devoted to test automation and all kinds of stuff around that. So I will also provide some links that like point to free resources for Python there as well. It's just going to be in a lesson. So, okay. So all these tools we've been through, do most companies will train you again with these tools when you get hired? Usually companies will have really detailed documentation on the tools, and then they will also have like basically examples, like, right, like how you can actually use those tools, and it's like really step-by-step documentation that basically says click this button, connect here, and there are a lot of engineers who can help. So when you join a company, nobody really expects you to deliver like anything significant within the first months. Usually during the first months, you just learn the product, you slowly go through onboarding. And then after that, another 2 months, you like slowly start like picking up some tasks and perform. Onboarding period in like different companies is very different, but usually it's 2 to 6 months. So while you're still like in this onboarding period, you basically are learning all those tools and what they're doing. So they will be showing you a lot of examples. So like, please don't be like too worried. Nobody expects you to know everything and like jump on tasks and start performing things and do everything correctly right away. It's just going to take some time to learn everything, and they will be teaching you and they will be explaining you things. So don't worry. Also, we've never had a student who actually was hired and then fired because of like performance issues or something like this. That's just like something that never happened. And I mean, to be honest, we kind of wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened, but so far we've never had one. So please, like, don't be too worried about it. Honestly, QA job, like manual testing job, is pretty easy. Like 90% of the cases, all you do is just take test trail and just like take test cases and execute them one by one. If something doesn't match, report the bug in Jira. That's pretty much it. Yeah, sometimes I need to pull device logs when something crashes, but it's like once per, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's definitely not every day. Okay, so yeah, it's totally enough to apply for QA jobs after the internship. You definitely have all the skill set. And keep in mind that mentors will be supporting you. So as you go through interview process, if people ask you some questions you don't know how to answer, bring those questions back to mentors and they will help. So they will provide some materials for you, or they will explain you like how to answer those questions, or like where to look some information. So you're not doing it alone. If we apply for engineer versus analyst, tester, etc., are we missing out on opportunities due to terminology? Well, honestly, for the first job, it doesn't really matter. Even if you have like QA analyst position, it's okay. Like it's important for you to get the first job, to have like the actual company on your resume, not just an internship company, but like an actual company with some experience. And then after that, you can apply for something that is a little bit more serious. So I would say for the first job, it doesn't matter. But over time, I probably would recommend you, like if it's been a few years and you're still a QA analyst, try to at least like change your title to like maybe senior, or ask your manager to change the title to QA engineer, or start looking around for other QA opportunities with just better title, because it also like changes your salary compensation. So that's why it's important. In general, I usually recommend people to change jobs at least once per couple of years, just because the market is growing very fast and this is the way to keep up with salaries. You don't have to do it, but it's actually a good practice and it's a good way to like grow faster. Will internship have Zoom meetings? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they use Zoom for meetings. But again, if you can't make it to a meeting, you can just post updates on Slack, and that's it. That's fine. Okay, how about QA jobs in Canada? Is this the same as US? Yeah, it's like the idea for the job is absolutely the same. If I remember correctly, the compensation is a little lower, but I can't say 100%. Like you should probably check on like Levels and Glassdoor. They will have like more accurate data. But I did have a few colleagues from Canada. I worked for one company where they had offices in San Francisco, and then they had a few offices in Canada. And I think the compensation was a little bit lower there. Not significant, but a little bit. All right. So I don't see any more questions. I think it's pretty much covered. Yeah. So yeah, it is the same industry. Yeah. So when you change jobs, it's pretty easy usually. I mean, unless you'd like try to add something super like complicated on top of what you're doing, it's pretty straightforward. Cool. Okay, so that's pretty much all I wanted to mention. Thank you everybody for joining and asking a lot of good questions. Let's wrap it up for tonight. I'll see you at some point again during this course. So yeah, have a good rest of your Sunday. Bye-bye, everyone.